So today we are starting up one of the most important topic of head and neck chapter, that is the suboccipital triangle. The suboccipital triangle is a muscular space situated deep in the suboccipital region. We know that the posterior region of the neck we have a suboccipital region. In this region we have a triangle which is formed by some muscles, and this triangle is known as a suboccipital triangle. So today we are seeing what boundaries and what are the content of these triangle formed in the cadaver. So we are starting by dissecting the cadavers. We are starting dissecting from the trapezius muscle. As we all know, this is a trapezius muscle. Now I am hiding this muscle. Okay, by after hiding this muscle, uh, below the trapezius we have one muscle here which is known as planus capitis. This muscle is known as planus capitis. Here one is the important thing is that in the back of the neck, mostly the muscles are ending by the name of the capitis. That is, the capitus is the meaning of the capitus means the neck. So most of the muscles of this region are ended by the name that is capitus. So this muscle is known as, which is highlighted here, is known as splenus capitis. Okay, now we are hiding this muscle also, and after hiding this muscle here we have one muscle that is semi spinalis capitis. Here, one the important thing is known as splenus capitis and semispinalis capitis. These two muscles forming the roof of the triangle. That is, these are present at the roof of the triangle. So now we are hiding this muscle also. Okay, here we have the skin of the scalp. We are hiding here this also. This is the lateral fibers of the muscle of semisplanus or semisplanus capitis. We are hiding this also. Okay, now we are here a triangle that is known as suboccipital triangle. Okay, guys, here we know that triangle has a three boundaries. So here three muscles are present which are forming the boundaries of the triangle. Okay, this muscle and this muscle and here this muscle which are highlighted here, these three muscles forming the boundaries of the triangle. So this muscle forming the superior lateral boundary of the triangle, that is it present at the superior and the lateral region of the triangle. So this muscle form the superior lateral boundary of the triangle, and this muscle is known as obliquus capitis superioris. This muscle is known as obliquus capitis superioris, and the origin of this muscle is from the transverse process of the atlas. Here this is the atlas, that is the first cervical vertebrae, and the origin of this muscle is from the transverse process of the atlas, and it originates between the two nuchal lines, that is superior nuchal line and the inferior nuchal line. This insert between these two nuchal lines. Okay, now we have this muscle. This muscle is known as obliquus capitis inferior. This muscle forms the inferior medial boundary of the triangle. So this muscle is originate from the atlas. Here this is the atlas muscle, sorry, atlas vertebrae, that is the second vertebrae here, from where it's originate this muscle here. This is known as atlas, that axis, that is the second vertebrae. Okay, now and this muscle is inserted into the transverse process of the atlas, that is the first cervical vertebrae. Okay, now the third muscle is rectus capitis posterior major, that is RCP major. We also known as, this muscle is known as RCP major, rectus capitis posterior major. This muscle forms the superior medial boundary of the triangle, that is present of the superior side and on the medial side. So this muscle forms the superior medial boundary of the triangle. Here this muscle is originate from the of the second cervical vertebrae, that is axis vertebrae. Okay, and this muscle is inserted into the here lateral part of the inferior nuchal line. Here we have present on the scalp, on the occipital part we have present, this is the occipital bone, and we have present here the nuchal line. So this is muscle is inserted in the lateral side of the superior nuchal line. Okay, now this muscle is known as rectus capitis posterior minor, that is RCP minor. This muscle do not form any boundary of the triangle, but it is supplemented muscle of the superior medial side. It is supplemented muscle only. Okay, now these are the boundaries of the suboccipital triangle. I hope you all now familiar with the boundaries. Now we see the content of the occipital triangle. Okay, with starting the content of the occipital triangle, we have this nerve. We have this nerve that is not highlighting right now. Now this blue highlighting nerve, that is the great occipital nerve. Great occipital nerve, it also supplies the occipital region when we are seeing in the scalp. Okay, these the great occipital nerve, it is a dorsal, it originate from the dorsal rami of the third vertebrae. It originates from the dorsal rami of the third vertebrae, nahi, second vertebrae. It's arise from the dorsal rami of the second vertebrae, that is axis vertebrae. Okay, now this that is present on the medial side of that this now is known as the third occipital nerve. It also supplies the scalp, that is occipital part of the scalp. This muscle is arise from the C3 dorsal rami of the C3 vertebrae, dorsal rami of the C3 vertebrae. Okay, these two from, that is uh, greater occipital nerve. This is the that is not highlighting right now. That is third occipital, greater occipital nerve. This is branch of the um, second cervical vertebrae, arise from the second cervical vertebrae. And the this nerve, that is the third occipital nerve. This is the third occipital nerve. This is the branch of the third cervical vertebrae. Okay, now we are coming from the branch of, that is the dorsal rami of the first cervical vertebrae. For this we have to remove this muscle. Okay, now you see uh, this is medial to this nerve, that is not highlighting right now here. Okay, here, that is highlighting this. Now this is now as a third occipital, नॉट थर्ड ऑसिपिटल, दैट इज़ द, इसके लिए हम जैसे हमने थर्ड सर्वाइकल वर्टिब्रे से अराइज उसका नाम रखा हमने थर्ड ऑसिपिटल नाउ, जो सेकंड सर्वाइकल वर्टिब्रे से अराइज उसका नाम हमने रखा ग्रेटर ऑसिपिटल नाउ. दैट नाउ विच इज़ अराइज फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट सर्वाइकल वर्टिब्रे, उसका कोई नाम नहीं है. दैट इज़ वी नो कॉल एज डोर्सल रैमस ऑफ फर्स्ट सर्वाइकल नर्व, dorsal ramus of first cervical nerve. This is the name, that is we also call this is no, that is arise from the dorsal ramus of the first cervical vertebrae. Okay, now we are coming from the arteries and veins. This artery, that is highlighting, here, this artery is the occipital artery. This artery is the occipital occipital artery, we are also known as occipital artery, is a branch of external carotid artery, that is the posterior branch of the external carotid artery. So this is the content of the, or we send supply these muscles, and that is the sub, which are present in the suboccipital region. Okay, now we are having the veins. Okay, this, as I highlighting these are the vein here are the venous plexus is the present, that is a plexus means a gucha. So here we have venous plexus is present here, exact, not any artery is present here, so vein is present here, so we also call this as suboccipital plexus of the veins. Exact name of the a vein is not present. Now one more artery is here which is not right now seen in this cadaver, that is third part of vertebral artery, the vertebral artery which is going from the uh, transfer from the vertebrae between the vertebrae, that is the foramen between the vertebrae, that is the third vertebral artery, is also a content of this suboccipital triangle. Okay, now coming for the floor of the suboccipital triangle. For the sub floors of suboccipital triangle, the floor is formed by posterior arch of atlas. This is the atlas, that is for cervical. The posterior arch of this first cervical vertebrae form the floor of the triangle, and the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane, this as I highlighting from blue, this is the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane. This also from the floor of the muscle. And okay, this is all for the suboccipital triangle, that I think so, as I cover all the contents and the boundaries, floor, roof, of the triangle. So thank you very much.